Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. I'd like to welcome you, dear viewers, to another in our series, Understanding the Qur'an. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We continue in the story of Khidr and Musa in the chapter known as Al-Kahf, the cave, which is the 18th chapter of the Qur'an. And we're now at verses 71 through 73. Previously, we had a discussion which took place between Prophet Musa and Prophet Khidr, wherein Al-Khidr informed Prophet Musa when he asked him to accompany him and gain knowledge from him, that Prophet Musa would not be able to be patient enough to get this full knowledge. He wouldn't be able to be patient to continue with him on this journey. But Prophet Musa assured him that he would, knowing that his patience would be tested, that he would be patient. And there is a point that should be mentioned here, that Al-Khidr, a number of scholars hold him to be a prophet of Allah, because he obviously received knowledge similar to that of Prophet Musa. Allah had revealed to him revelation, and this is one of the characteristics of the prophets. So a number of the scholars do hold that he was in fact a prophet of Allah. But we don't have certain knowledge in the sense that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did not make any pronouncement on this particular matter. So one cannot say it with a surety, but it is a great likelihood. Anyway, they continue now on the journey in verses 71 to 73. The first incident takes place. Allah says here, describing the first incident,
فانطلقا حتى إذا ركبا في السفينة خرقا قال أخرقتها لتغرق أهلها لقد جئت شيئا إمرا قال ألم أقل إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا قال لا تؤاخذني بما نسيت ولا ترهقني من أمري عسرا.
So they set out together until while they were riding a ship, Khidr made a hole in it. Moses exclaimed, "Do you make a hole in it to drown its passengers? Surely you have done something dreadful." Khidr replied, "Didn't I tell you that you wouldn't be able to have patience with me?" Moses pledged, "Please, don't hold me accountable for my forgetfulness, and please don't be hard on me in this matter." The Prophet ﷺ went on to explain, so when they set out on their journey walking along the seashore, a boat passed by them, and they asked the crew of the boat to take them on board. The crew recognized Al-Khidr, and so they took him on board without any fare. They took him on without charging him anything. When they were on board, they were sitting on the boat, a sparrow came and sat and stood on the edge of the boat and dipped its beak once or twice into the water. Al-Khidr said to Moses, "O Moses, my knowledge and your knowledge have not decreased Allah's knowledge as much as this sparrow has decreased the water of the sea with its beak." There's a lesson here. Al-Khidr is teaching as they're journeying. The sparrow sitting on the edge of the boat dips its beak into the water once or twice, comes back out. Of course, there's going to be some water in the beak or on the beak. And Khidr summed up all of the knowledge which you have, Moses, and all the knowledge which I have. It does not, if we put it together in comparison to Allah's knowledge, it does not decrease Allah's knowledge even as much as the water stuck on the beak of that bird decreases the total water in the sea. This is reminding Moses that their knowledge is insignificant with regards to the knowledge of Allah. Then suddenly Al-Khidr took kind of axe and worked it into the planks of the boat and pulled up a plank. which then allowed water to come into the boat. He had damaged the boat. So Khidr asked him, what have you done? These people have taken us on board of the ship or the boat without charging us anything. Yet you have intentionally made a hole in the boat so as to drown its passengers. Indeed, you have really done something dreadful. Al-Khidr replied to him, didn't I tell you, as I told you before, didn't I tell you that you wouldn't be able to be patient? Prophet Musa realized, yep, he had broken his promise. He couldn't help himself. He saw something which was wrong. It was obviously wrong. So he had to inform him. Actually, what he was doing is what Islam requires. If you see somebody doing something wrong, you should tell them. You know, try to stop. Commanding the good, prohibiting the evil is a part of the teachings which all the prophets gave. Because the message of Islam which all the prophets brought was a message of good, prohibition of evil and commanding the good. So it is the duty of everyone to do so. However, this was a special case. This was a condition which Khidr made on Prophet Musa, that he was to be patient, that he would be explained, that some things would take place which he couldn't understand, which would be beyond his knowledge. He's showing him something of the knowledge which he had been given, which is beyond the capacity, the understanding of Prophet Musa. So he had to be patient here. So in this context, what he did was wrong, though in a general context, what he did was perfectly right. Allah then goes on to describe the second incident in verses 74 to 76. He says there,
فانطلقا حتى إذا لقيا غلاما فقتله قال أقتلت نفسا زكية بغير نفس قال أقتلت نفسا زكية بغير نفس لقد جئت شيئا نكرا قال ألم أقل لك إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا قال إن سألتك عن شيء بعدها فلا تصاحبني قد بلغت من لدني عذرا.
So they both proceeded until when they met a boy, Khidr killed him. Moses exclaimed, have you killed an innocent person who killed no one? You have really done something prohibited. Khidr replied, didn't I tell you that you wouldn't be able to have patience with me? Moses replied, if I ask you about anything after this, don't keep me in your company, for you have heard enough excuses from me. So Prophet Muhammad went on to explain the incident. When they left the boat and continued walking on the other side, they passed by a boy who was a young boy playing with other boys. Al-Khidr grabbed the boy, took his head, and twisted and plucked it off, you know. And the celebrator of this tradition, Sufyan, pointed with his fingertips as if he was plucking fruit. You know, when you have to take a fruit off, it's stuck to the tree, you pull it, but you have to turn it to break the stem. So he said that Khidr had taken off the head in a similar way. Prophet ﷺ had shown it way. Moses said, you have killed an innocent person who didn't kill anybody. This is really a terrible thing. Obviously, he has seen, this is murder. This is cold-blooded murder taking place in front of him. You know, an innocent little boy, obviously, who couldn't have done any evil. I mean, here he is ripping that boy's head off. It's horrible. I mean, very shocking. I mean, this is really pushing Prophet Musa to the limit. I mean, something, I mean, though, okay, the first incident was, you know, potential harm here. Potential harm. There wasn't actual harm. But in this case, it was clear harm. I mean, clearly something evil is taking place. Prophet Musa could not contain himself. You know, this was him. This was a prophet of Allah. He sees evil taking place and he has to react. So he exclaims, "What are you doing?" You know, murder. This is, you know, of one major sin. Advice to him, "Didn't I tell you? You wouldn't be patient." Prophet Musa catches himself. Oof, here it is. Even though he promised and broke his promise, caught himself, made another promise, here he is breaking it again. So he said he had to say now that, well, you know, really, you have a right to leave me. If I cannot keep my patience as I promised, you know, if I can't keep my patience after this and just, you know, follow you and learn from your actions, wait until you're ready to inform me, then you may leave me. I have no right to be in your company anymore. I obviously am not at the level to be able to benefit from it. But note again, as we said, that Prophet Musa, though he is responding in this way wrong, he is responding naturally, as he should respond when he is evil. But there is deeper meaning that he is yet to understand. And Al-Khidr is going to teach him. But note again, as we said, that Prophet Musa, though he is responding in this way, it is wrong, he is responding naturally, as he should respond when he sees evil. But there is deeper meaning that he is yet to understand. And Al-Khidr is going to teach him. That is developed in the third incident between verses 77 to 78. Allah says there,
فانطلقا حتى إذا أتيا أهل قرية استطعما أهلها فأبوا أن يضيفوهما فوجدا فيها جدارا يريد أن ينقض فأقامه قال لو شئت لاتخذت عليه أجرا قال هذا فراق بيني وبينك سأنبئك صبرا.
So the two went on until when they had come across some inhabitants of a town, they asked them for food, but they refused to offer them any hospitality. Then they found a wall in the town that was about to collapse, and Khidr rebuilt it. Moses suggested, if you wished, you could surely have taken some payment for it. Khidr replied, this is where our ways must part. Now I will let you know the meaning of those things that you were unable to patiently bear. The third incident takes place. Both of them went on till they came to a village where they asked its inhabitants for food, but were refused to be entertained as guests. Now this is a bad quality. They would have to even ask the people. They're strangers who have come into a town. The people, the proper way is that people should invite them, take them in as guests, offer them food, etc. No, nobody's coming forward to do it, so they have to actually go and ask the people. And when they asked the people, they were refused. What? You know, this is a level of inhospitability which is, you know, incomprehensible. That's really bad-mannered people. So then, as they were leaving the town, they came across a wall which was about to collapse. And Khidr repaired it by just touching it with his hands. I mean, he didn't actually go and start building. He just touched it with his hands. It was about to fall over. He touched it with his hands, and as a miracle from Allah, the wall straightened itself up. And Moses then said, these are people whom we called on, but they neither gave us food nor entertained us as guests. Yet you have repaired their wall. If you had wished, you could have taken wages for it. Basically saying you should take money from them for it. You know, why do this for them when their manners are so bad? Should we repay bad behavior with good? Because that will only increase their badness. That would only encourage them to be more inhospitable to other people who would be coming. Such people, you know, this is not the way to treat them. If they're acting in this manner, the best thing is if you're going to do anything which may benefit them, you should charge them for it. Really. This is Prophet Musa's action. It's a small issue, but he has questioned. So this was the test. The earlier tests were major tests where clear harm is being done. You know, Prophet Musa reacts. In this case, you know, after he has shown himself incapable of holding himself, actually it is not an evil. It is done, it's not an evil. But it is just not something which we would normally consider wise. People who are bad-mannered in this kind of way don't deserve, you know, goodness being given to them for nothing. No, they deserve to pay for it. Since they're unable or unwilling to share anything that they have with others, then nothing should be shared really with them. This is his opinion, you know, which has a certain level of wisdom to it. However, Al-Khidr informs him that reality has shown itself, that Prophet Musa has been unable to contain himself, to wait patiently for information to be given to him. Now, the point here is that Prophet Moses is shown unable to comprehend the knowledge or to understand what is behind the knowledge which has been given to Al-Khidr. Al-Khidr then will explain to him. Of course, all of this which is taking place is as Allah willed. There are lessons to be learned, and Prophet Musa will learn the lessons. He cannot travel or continue on the journey with Al-Khidr because that level of knowledge which Al-Khidr has been given is beyond the normal. It's beyond the level of Prophet Musa to be able to grasp it. And it's enough for him to know that Allah knows best. So Al-Khidr, in the coming verses, now explains what is behind the incidents. The first incident is explained in verse 79. Allah says there, quoting Al-Khidr,
أما السفينة فكانت لمساكين يعملون في البحر فأردت أن أعيبها وكان وراءهم ملك يأخذ كل سفينة غصبا.
As for the ship, it belonged to some poor people working at sea. I wanted to damage it, as there was a king coming behind them who was seizing every ship by force. This was the first incident. Some narrations mention of this incident from the Prophet ﷺ mention the name of the king as Hudud ibn Budud. And this name is mentioned somewhere in the Torah. Some of the narrators mentioned that some similar name is found in the Torah. Anyway, Al-Khidr had lifted up the plank, broken off a piece of the plank there, in order that the ship, after they left it, would sink in the water, you know. And the king who was coming, Hudud was coming, who was grabbing everybody's ships. If he came across good ships, etc., he'd take them. Finding this damaged ship, he would leave it. So, in this way, the damaging of the ship, which was a slight damage, the ship could easily be raised and fixed afterwards. And this way, the ship was saved for those poor people. So, where it appeared that Khidr was doing harm, he was actually doing benefit. This act seemed to be a harmful act, but in it was benefit. Because of course, when the owners of the ship, the poor people, When they came and they saw their ship damaged, they would have said, why? What happened? Our ship is damaged. Now we have to go and fix it. And, they would feel sad that harm has come to them in this way. However, when that king came through, grabbing all of the ships of all of the other people around, their ships were all taken, and they see, oh, here it is. That which we thought to be something bad, something evil which had befallen us, is in fact actually something good. This is the first lesson. Things may happen in our lives which we think to be bad. They may seem bad to us. But we must know that ultimately Allah knows best. If Allah has permitted this to take place, then there is good in it. There is good in it. Though it may appear to us to be something relatively evil, it seems to be bad. But Allah is most just and He is good. So there will be an aspect of good to it that perhaps we are not able to grasp. Maybe time will come and we will know, we will understand. Or maybe it won't. But it is only for us as believers to accept that whatever takes place in our lives is for the good. How we react to it, how we deal with it, this will determine to what degree it was good for us. With that, dear viewers, we'll stop with this explanation of the first incident. And the following incidents will be explained in our next segment of the program, Understanding the Qur'an, where we're looking at Surah Al-Kahf, the chapter of the cave, the 18th chapter of the Quran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.